What's up everyone, welcome back to another POV analysis. Today we're going to look at my favorite Terran, the second best Terran in the world, Cure. The reason he's my favorite is because he's so good at the macro games, but yet he doesn't quite use the standard builds a lot of the times. Like he really makes his own builds, his own strategies. Strategies that are really fun to copy. And that's why he's my favorite. And I think this series was no different. This was from the semifinals of the DreamHack Last Chance tournament. Cure had an amazing run there. Had a really good series against Solar here. This was a best of 5 as well, first game. And yeah, he already opens up with a gas first. Honestly, gas first is barely ever seen these days. But Cure does it. Actually, I get a lot of comments about builds. Like, can you show me a build with gas first? For some reason, you guys really like that stuff. So here, Cure is going to provide. That's a very oddly placed barracks. I've seen him do this before. I'm not quite sure what the point of it is yet, though. What could it be? I guess his reactor would not be in the wall, so it wouldn't be exposed later. But besides that, I'm not quite sure. It's a bit further away, so maybe it gets scouted later. It could be a lot of different reasons, but he does do it frequently, so there must be a purpose to it, right? And with the gas first, basically what it's gonna be. I don't know exactly what it's gonna be, but gas first usually indicates that they're gonna go for like fast tech, so it could be fast Hellions. It could also be, for example, a faster battlecruiser opener, stuff like that. Usually still with a Reaper expand. But if I remember correctly, Cure is actually going to go one base factory here. And this already probably looks a bit insane to you guys. Against Zerg, 95% of the time you'll go for a Reaper expand. I guess sometimes you see a Marine expand, but you never quite see a factory expand like this. So he's going to go with a factory with a Marine. Now, obviously, you can't do this with a Reaper, else you wouldn't be able to afford the factory. Actually blocked his own SCV a little bit there with the reactor. So he's going to go ahead and make the CC before the depot. I guess because you can make the depot in time anyway. Reactors, by the way, reactors take so long to build, guys. So long. So you can actually you see it's already halfway done, but you can still pretty comfortably fit a depot in there. The timing should work out pretty well. This Marine, when you go Marine first, you should always use it to hunt Overlords. Now, since the Overlord speed buff, which is already a couple of years ago, you should never really get them. But you can do things like fly over your barracks. Oh, I was going to say, looks like Cure's not going to do that, but he changed his mind. He is actually going to fly his barracks over. Try to deny that. Now, I feel like this is mostly to scare it away, honestly, because Overlords are too fast to die to Marine for the most part. If you go for 2 Marines, you can actually fly up and kill it. But besides that, you can only scare it away. Now, Solar's coming in with 2 links. Little does he know that Cure went for super fast Hellions. I have to say, guys, this wall-off still looks a little bit awkward because the Hellions keep misrallying and stuff. Ooh, okay, this is super cool. Let me just pause quickly to explain this. He made 2 Hellions, and he's not showing them because Cure has done builds in the past where he has 2 Marines and 1 Hellion, and then does a Hell Battle in follow-up. So he only showed 1 Hellion on purpose to fake out Solar, because this is basically a standard build with slightly worse eco, but with faster Hellions. That's all it is so far. But he's making it look like it could be a crazy Hell Battle in as well. And he did scare the Overlord away. I'm not sure if Solar put it back. Not yet. Overlord's still chilling down here. Alright. Looks like he's going to do a run by with 4 Hellions. This is usually the point. If you go really fast Hellions, the purpose is that Zergs don't typically have link speed done yet. So you can get in before link speed. Or maybe before they even make Zerglings. Yeah, Solar only has 2 Zerglings here, so he should be in a little bit of trouble. If he has really good drone micro, he can avoid too many losses. Oh, that's already a pretty bad first shot by Cure. Didn't actually kill any drones with that. Gonna get 4 drones, 6. I imagine he would like to get out with those. Actually gonna dive completely, okay. Guess I'll do that as well then when I copy the build. One thing, quick note guys, if you're gonna try this on your ladder, something I know about lower MMR Zergs, like non-pro Zergs, is that they actually do a lot of builds where their link speed finishes way too fast. Like low eco builds where the link speed already finishes at 330. In pro level, link speed usually finishes at like 4 minutes, but keep in mind that if you do that kind of run by on your own ladder, there is a chance Zerg actually is going to have link speed for that. Now, he already made 8 Hellions in total. He's going to make 2 more. He's playing Viking into Liberator. I used to do this kind of factory expand builds like back in early Heart of the Swarm, like legit 8 years ago. And I do remember that I would personally never stop making Hellions. Like I would run by so many Hellions. and I didn't really have a proper transition. Cure here is already working on his 11th and 12th Hellion as well. I can't imagine he's going to make more than that. That would actually be crazy. Maybe if he was playing mech, but you can see he's already making stim. He must be switching out that reactor now. Yeah, exactly. Actually misplaces their barracks too. He's human, guys. He makes mistakes like us. He misplaced his barracks. Look. That's not on the reactor, buddy. There's a gap. Now let's see how he uses his units at the front. Did he already use the Liberator? Not yet. So he has 6 Hellions. I guess he lost 6 as well, right? Yeah, he lost 6 Hellions and 1 SCV, I suppose. Or 1 Marine, maybe. And now he has 6 left. He's probably going to try sync up the Liberator with the Hellions. He's going to send the Liberator straight to the middle. He doesn't even look at it, actually. Okay, there we go. Obviously, Cure is fast. Look at how fast he switches between the Hellions and the Liberator. That's no problem for him at all. Might even be hard to catch for some viewers. At the meantime, he's adding 4 more barracks. I see 3, but it has to be 4, I think. Yeah, there we go. And then he's going to go straight into Widowmine, seems like, because he is making another reactor on that factory. Which is a little bit crazy. Let's see, is he perfect? He's perfect. Liberator's alive, Viking is alive, both on low HP, I think. Even keeps that 1 HP Hellion alive. Very good efficiency so far. Now, obviously, the follow-up to this is just going to be standard. I think it could have been mech, but in my head, it doesn't really work out well to do like a low eco build and then go mech. So I think bio makes more sense here. And that's what he's going to do as well. One thing I'm wondering about is if he's going to go for tanks instead of Widow Mines, because this map is actually pretty good for siege tanks, and it's also pretty long. So if you want to do like parade pushes with mines, it might not be quite as effective. Solar is also playing roaches, as you can see from the production tab, so at some point he is going to scout that. And then he would probably switch over to tanks. So far everything looks normal from Cure's POV. This could be Mutast, it could be Lingwin into Lurker. Like so far I hasn't seen anything that's too crazy. I'm just going to use the lib again. If you guys are wondering what just happened there with the screen. You can shift click units via the minimap, but some players actually go to the physical location. So they would go here to click, and then here to click, and then here to click, instead of doing it via minimap. And the reason you do that is just because you can siege the Liberator more accurately. Because you can actually siege it exactly there or here, wherever you want it to be. And it's also the proper way to do it. If you want to shift click something via the minimap, it's a little bit less accurate. You might not quite hit the corners you want to hit and stuff. Okay, so now Cure sees its roaches. And I imagine he has to switch away from that reactor instantly to start making tanks. Yeah, there we go. Oh, this is cool. Small detail, guys, but this is really cool. He actually went to lift his factory here for tanks. And the reason is that if he made tanks anywhere else in this base, they would get stuck. Or in the best case, he makes the factory here and they have to walk all the way around. So instead, it's a very simple thing. He just puts his factory there to avoid all that kind of trouble. Small detail, but it helps, guys. You can't lie to me. Everyone that plays StarCraft, plays Terran has had it. Sometimes you just get like 7 tanks stuck in your base. Might as well try to avoid it. Now Cure going in pretty heavily with a drop. I have to say, Cure actually took the weird third base. Normally you take the triangle third base on this location. But he actually took this one instead. And that's going to help him against the roach play of Solar, because it's just a little bit further away. So he might be able to defend better. Now, I'm wondering how on earth he's going to defend this without playing siege tanks. Typically, if you play Widow Mines blindly without any tanks against roaches, it is considered to be a free loss. So, yeah, Cure, of course, the opener in this game was a little bit strange. He killed some workers and all that. But this builders or strategies, I should say, are typically considered to be a free loss for the Terran, because you can't really defend the Roach Ravager with Widow Mines. But somehow he's just finding the right trades. I feel like the drop across the map helped him a lot as well. Like, he killed the Queens, he held the reinforcement of the Roaches back, he ran away the SCVs. And now if you look at the supply, you might say it's not that good for Cure. But in this case, it's actually looking pretty good, for the simple reason that Solar doesn't have any transition planned. If there was a Hydra then on the way here already with 2-2, different story. But now it's just 1-1 Roach. And Roach compositions don't have to be bad, but you need to be working on something else. Like if he was getting bailing speed already or anything like that, it would be good. This is the point when Solar realizes, as you can see the production tab, that it's not quite going to work out for him. So he's going to go for that Lurker transition. But I think Cure's transition was just faster. he's already making the units he needs. So I would say Cure is slightly favored here. But still, for me, this is very interesting because I find myself in these kind of positions a lot where I'm slightly ahead against roaches. But it feels really hard to finish the game because the Zerg has so many units. If you do any wrong push, it feels like they can really just crush you, you know? Cure has a very interesting approach to this. I think I noticed this in the live broadcast as well, is that even without the tanks, he always wants to trade. So he always stims, and then he just backs off when the bios hit. So he kills like 1 or 2 roaches. Like, he really just wants to perma-trade. And I guess it's because he does have a few marauders in his army, making it a little bit easier, even without concussive shells. But you can see here that the trades here are pretty good. He keeps killing like 1, 2, 3 roaches. Even if you lose 3 marines for that, it's still worth it, right? At the same time, he's starting to get Liberators. Now, that's a very interesting choice to me. Liberators against Ravager-style compositions wouldn't be logical from a first point of view. The second factory, however, is definitely going to be for more tanks. That completely makes sense. Nowadays, if Zergs play Roach compositions, I would say 75-80% of the time they do follow up with Lurkers. It used to be Banelings as a standard follow-up, now it's Lurkers. And in general, even if they go into Link Bane, it's pretty good to have a lot of tanks against the Ravager-based compositions. Tanks are not necessarily great against Ravagers, but it's definitely better to have a ton of them than a few. Because if you just have 3 or 4, they don't take enough damage for biling down one of your tanks, if that makes sense. If you have 8 or 10 tanks, they can try to bile them down, but they will actually get punished for it. So if you want to make tanks against Ravagers, you should make a lot of them. I feel like you should either go mines or you should go for a lot of siege tanks, if that makes sense. I'm still not quite sure about the Liberators, though. I guess it makes sense against Lurkers. Now, this was kind of like a perfect time for Cure. He had 3 Lurkers were finished, but 4 were still morphing, and he's actually just straight in, gonna kill those. And yeah, I'm not sure what Solar is gonna do after this. He's gonna lose his 4th base. Cure is getting his own 4th at the same time. I still feel like in this kind of game, if the Zerg Lurker count gets out of control, it could be very hard to win. But Cure is pushing forward so hard. He's not even really bringing his tanks too much. He really just wants to prevent like Lurkers being more for free, it seems like. And back at home, he's not doing anything spectacular. He's just making bio-tank Liberators. And I guess if the Ravagers are gone, I mean there's still 8 Ravagers. If there's less Ravagers, the Liberators would be very good. And maybe if you have a lot of tanks in combination, they work very well as well. There's the strength of the Viper, being able to pick up one of those tanks. We haven't seen a Ghost Academy yet, I believe. Not quite a Ghost Academy yet, no. 73 SCVs. I feel like Cure is playing this very, you know, basic in a way. Like he's being super aggressive, way more aggressive than people would usually be against Roach into Lurker. But when it comes to the macro, when it comes to the expansion pattern, it doesn't feel like he's doing anything crazy. He's not spamming command centers. He didn't get his Ghost Academy super fast. Yeah, just nothing out of the ordinary. No fusion core for ranged lips or something like that. Like he's making this look like a very, you know, usual day of business so far. Yeah, which for me is always awesome. Like, I feel like nothing feels better than when you watch a replay of a good Terran and they destroy exactly with what you struggle with sometimes. Now, Roach into Lurker is not typically what I struggle with, but I do think he's making it look easier than it looks in my games for sure. I feel like for me to win, I do usually have to transition into Mass Ghost, but he's showing that against the late transition into the Lurkers, you can actually still be very aggressive with just Bio Ghost. Or Bio Tank, sorry, without Ghost even being necessary. Like if you look at the supply here, this looks like a completely won game already. It's still going to go on for a few minutes, so Cure might be taking a poor engagement against Lurkers. Like I said, he's human, he makes mistakes as well. But if you look at the supply here, 17 workers ahead, more army, more bases than a Zerg. That's... You don't get to say that a lot, guys. If you have more bases than a Zerg, you should appreciate the hell out of that, because that doesn't happen a lot. You see, that's where he was a little bit overconfident stepping into Lurkers. A very important thing for Lurkers, by the way, guys, is that without the Hive upgrades, Lurkers are not that scary. They're good, but not that scary. As soon as they have the Hive upgrades, which are these two, the burrow speed and the range, they become insane. Like, you can literally not fight straight up with them anymore at all. Like, you need to fight from a range with tanks or snipe them with Ghost. And I think that's kind of what happened. Cure had a really good time against the Lurkers before they got the upgrades. So he was overconfident, thought he could do it again. But the upgrades were finished and he kind of got obliterated a little bit there. But as you can see at the same time at home, he's perfectly set up. He has a 4th base, 82 SCVs, really wonderful worker count there for your 4 base setup. And he's making Ghost as well, literally not producing anything else besides Ghost. Getting some upgrades, of course. I'm a little bit surprised that he hasn't added more orbitals yet. Let's see if he's saving energy on those orbitals. I mean, he's not muling particularly hard. He definitely has 3 scans, probably 6 pretty soon. But typically you would add a few more orbitals. There you go, he's actually going to add 1 there. Also interesting is that he's going to make Vikings. Vikings are actually... It sounds kind of weird if you think about the army they have. Lingbane Lurker, right? Or Roach Lurker in this case, Ravager Lurker. But Vikings are actually pretty multi-purpose. A very underrated use of the Vikings is that you can park them right here and deny any kind of Nidus from coming into your main. Because a Lurker Nidus is very often straight up game ending. And yeah, you never... Like, I find it one of the most tilting experiences you can have in StarCraft. If you're ahead, you're doing so good. But you don't see the Nidus and bam, you lose the game, you know. But besides that, they also do take care of the Vipers pretty well. Even though the Ghost could fill that role too. Sometimes it's a bit hard to get a snipe on a Viper off. Because if you snipe a Viper, the Viper can abduct you back and the Viper wins that fight. Now obviously if you have a lot of Ghost, you can just use a bunch to snipe. Oh my god, what just happened here? There were a lot of hidden burrow lurkers. That was actually a really cool move and it worked really well for Solar. But Cure just had too many units. Like, there was like 9 lurkers hidden. He killed all of the ghosts pretty much, besides 2 here. But Cure just had a little bit too much. If Cure actually had like 10-15 army supply less, that could have been a game-changing move. That's where the orbitals really come in handy. If you don't have orbitals there, you cannot scan all the time. Like, if Cure had like 10 orbitals, he would have scanned over and over and dealt with it perfectly. Alright, well that was game number 1. Let's check out another game of Cure. Alright, game number 2 on Blackburn. This game was actually one of my favorites, close to my heart, very simply because he does a style, a build, which I use a lot as well. He's gonna kill Solar very fast, faster than you would usually see a top Korean Zerg like Solar lose. And the build he does is awesome. And actually, I want to know specifically how he did the build as well. I think the moves are probably the most important, but for me to copy it, I need to get the build down first of all, right, to begin with. Basically, I've been messing around for a long time, playing like Reactor first, Marine first, doing weird Marine drops and Hellion drops at the same time, like kind of like multitask a little bit. And I feel like in this game, Cure did a very optimized version of, yeah, basically that's how. Marine drop with like a multitasking attack on the other side, Hellions or BC. Actually, he went for a gas first again. 2 gas firsts in a row. Wow, I'm really spoiling you guys today, huh? And if I have to guess, I would say he might take the second gas very late. That could be a way to optimize this build. Because if you think about it, Marine drop into Hellions doesn't sound like it takes a lot of gas, right? You just basically need the reactor. You need to make the factory and the starport as usual. But besides that, you only need to make the medevac. And that, yeah, it's simply just 100 gas. So the map is Blackburn as well. Blackburn is typically a very good map for, how do you put this? Like a rush from the air in some way. I usually like to do a double drop here, for example. If you play Battlecruiser on this map, it's pretty good because you don't even have to teleport it across. You can just fly it across. It'll arrive pretty fast. And yeah, you won't take a lot of damage. Wait, he just made a CC before his Marine. Have I seen anyone do that before? He literally just made a CC before his Marine. That's kind of crazy already. Okay. I guess he has really optimized his build then. That's one thing that I really like about people like here. Sometimes they have those weird patterns in their builds, which you wouldn't think about if you just watch like really standard StarCraft games. But Cure really thinks of it for himself. As you can see, Solar is very scared to go in. And I can explain to you why. Solar sees no barracks. But he scouts the CC, so he knows it's a barracks expand, right? Most commonly, if you do this, it's a reactor first, which means there would be 2 Marines out right now. If Solar goes in, 2 Marines show up, he loses the Overlord. So because of this mind game, yeah, Cure, normally you would make 1 Marine, but Cure didn't even have to make one, and Solar was still too scared to go in and really confirm what it was. So I guess Cure gets the best end of that. Now the build is going to continue as follows. Going to get, you know, double Marine, 1 Hellion. I think he might switch those over at some point. Starport on the way, of course, for that medevac later on. And yeah, like I said, he's going to be on 1 gas. And the reason why he's in one gas, because you could think like, why doesn't he want to follow with Battlecruiser or Liberator? What it seems to me is that he wants to follow a pressure with still a fast third command center. And if you get a second gas mining, it's not just more gas, but you're losing a lot of minerals by building the refinery and losing 3 SCVs worth of mining. So it's actually, yeah, maybe you could get your third CC even a minute faster if you do it like this or more. He's going to go up to 5 Marines. If I would have to... Oh, he already has 5. Okay, I was going to say... If I would have to guess, he's going to wait for 7. So he would stay home a bit, but he already has 5. So he's going to go up to 7. Probably going to drop into the main, like I said. Now keep in mind, he's just producing Hellions from a naked factory. Which kind of goes into basic principles of TvZ. Because, yeah, 90% of the builds is simply reactor Hellion into X or Y. Anything, really. Now he gets a tech lab on that. I guess he's probably just going to switch these around. Get some more Hellions and get Stim. Now he has 3 Hellions saved up. Look how fast this attack hits, by the way. It's 4 minutes, and the medevac is going to arrive into the main. Like, this is a really fast attack. Let's go on Curious Vision to see how he executes that. He's going to send the Hellions all the way around. Probably going to do some cute Marine Micro here. Until he was about to lose one, and then he switched it up. 30C is already coming down. And this is exactly the point of the single gas. I'm just going to pause because the action is about to start. This is the point of the single gas. He's doing a big pressure, but he can 3cc and make tour bags behind it. If you make a second gas, you cannot do that kind of stuff. So this is a very optimized version of this build order by Cure, which is really cool to see. Oh my god. 3 drones instantly. That's, yeah, you don't always get that fortune, but it's still very pleasing to see. I guess he's still going to go in with that medevac at some point. I feel like Solar going for Overlord speed is also a good move for Cure because... Yeah, the timing hit at 4 minutes, so you basically reveal your hand very fast, right? Like, Cure showed him what he was doing already 4 minutes in. So I feel like Solar basically got Overlord speed for nothing. Actually, very cute move this as well, hunting down the Overlord with that one medevac. Good stuff. Probably gonna drop double eBay now as well, I have to imagine. And this game he's actually gonna go for the tanks. I feel like tanks last game would have made sense as well. This game maybe even more. Blackburn tends to be a very campy map. You can play, if you really want to play late game, you can pretty much force it as well. And also there's some really good locations here. If they take this gold, you can even siege a tank here, siege a tank here, and yeah, it's rough. And even above this base, if you ever get this high ground here and siege tanks, you also have so much room to play with. If they take this base, you can siege this one. Like this map definitely has a lot of cool siege positions. So tanks just make sense here. Now... He has 2 more medevacs, and keep in mind, he had his first one alive still. Normally, the maximum amount of pressure you can do is basically 16 Marines with 2 medevacs. But now he has 3 medevacs, so he could actually do 60 Marines on the top and another drop in the bottom with maybe a Hellions or whatever he has left. It could be a Hellion drop. He could wait for some extra Marines and drop those as well. And it's interesting to me that Solar is deciding not to take the gold base. The gold base is actually the standard on this map. But because Cure is so good with the aggression, and because he actually opened with an aggressive builder, I think Solar just felt safer not taking it and decided it was not worth the risk there. Let's see what this is gonna look like. On Blackburn, you have a lot of nice airspace as well. You can actually go behind the third, behind the natural and stuff. You can get hit by queens, but there's still a lot of area to maneuver around. Now here we go, double drop into the main. And this was actually quite brilliant. He saw most of the links were in the top. So he knew he could stim into the main without much fear. Normally if you stim into the main like that, you want to run away from queens. Because if 4 of these Zerglings join, you have to fly away. And there's a chance that your medevacs die to the queens in the process. But he saw all the links in the top and he knew he was safe to stim in, get a lot of damage done. Reinforcing the top at the same time. And yeah, this stuff is really hard to deal with as Zerg. Because keep in mind, it's not just the damage that you do. If you have to spend attention everywhere, your macro is going to fall apart, your creep spread is going to slip, you might forget an upgrade, etc, etc. Obviously, the same goes for Cure, so it definitely is a little bit of a battle of speed and focus. Now, there's a big push at the top here. Solar actually doesn't have a lot of Banelings, guys. Like I said, the pressure has been so much that he actually has not been completely thought of unit production. 4 Banelings is not typically enough for this. You want like at least 8. Yeah, it doesn't look... Okay, he went for 1... He got 2 Banelings with the target fire, honestly. If he was a little bit less shaky. He could have gotten all of them. Drop at the same time in the naturals, destroying everything. And just like that, Solar has been absolutely dismantled. He's winning the game without even looking at it at this point. Like, look at the supply, 40 supply up. It looked very simple. The execution of this by Cure is just always so clean. And man, I have to say, I love this build order. I'm definitely going to be trying out this build order. This seems like the newest version of this stuff. Yeah, this was honestly awesome. There's even a tank push follow-up to counter the gold. But yeah, it's not even necessary at this point. Wow, well, that was a quick one. I'm up for another game. Let's analyze the next one. Alright, game number 4. I skipped game number 3. It's a game that Solar won, but Cure did a really cool build order in that game as well, and I'll be showing you guys that in another video. Now, this game, Cure did something I haven't done in a long time, which is actually going for a pretty heavy 2-base pressure. You know, and I mean like a push. I don't mean harassment, because I know harassment is done on 2 bases, but he actually went for a 2-base push, like got 3 barracks and stuff, I believe. And I saw a few Korean Terrans do this, so I want to see how this plays out exactly from his POV. We're going to skip the early game spam and get to his POV later to save your sanity. I saw Dream do it as well. I think Dream actually took a map of Cerro with that, which usually is the stamp of approval, like, okay, that works against Zerg, you know. Now, I know it's very tricky, and it probably depends on the Zerg if you really go for a 2-base attack. But we'll see how Cure goes up to it, if there's any mind games involved in the build order and all that. Cure actually used the proxy racks a lot, but hasn't done it in a while. You can see that Solar is still making sure that there's no proxies around. He's not scouting excessively, though. But just enough. I feel like if you decide to make a proxy racks all the way up here, all the way down here, it's probably a little bit too far away to really do a lot of damage. Oh, there's the barracks positioning again. Guys, if you know what the point of this is, please tell me in the comments, because I can guess, but I still don't know exactly what it is. At least nothing that gives you a decent advantage, you know. If anything, it really feels like the smallest thing ever. It's pretty notable that Cure is not going for an SCV scout here. This is particularly, like, you could wonder, why do you need to SCV scout against a standard Zerg? Well, if a Zerg goes for pull first, which they can do if they expect the proxy racks, because pull first doesn't disrupt the Zerg that much. If they expect a proxy racks, and they want to be a little bit safer, they can go pull first. If they go pull first 6 links and you don't SCV scout, you're going to be pretty far behind. Because as you can see, Reaper's going out. What's going to happen is 6 Zerglings are going to come in from the top. When the Reaper is on that side, there's 1 Marine. You're going to have to pull 10 SCVs down to defend this, plus the Marine. And yeah, you're going to have a bad time. You either have to cancel your CC, or you're going to lose a bunch of SCVs for it. And in the best possible case where your micro is insane, you put all the low HS SCVs back and stuff, you're still going to lose an absolute crap ton of mining time. So it's just never a good situation at all. This is the first time he went Reaper, actually, right? I think. What did he do first game? First game was Marine. Yeah, both games were Marine so far that we saw. This is actually the first Reaper game. Now, beforehand, if I would have to guess, I would say Berlingrad is the most likely map for a Terran to go standard on. Especially Cure, because he does off-standard builds to begin with. Because, yeah, I feel like this map is just pretty nice for Terran. I feel like you can get really nice pushing positions going. There's not too many bases for the Zerg to take. Like, this corner base is already where it ends pretty much. So, if I had to choose a map to go standard on, it would probably be this one. And Cure is kind of going standard, because he's not doing anything too crazy. Unlike the build he was doing before. But he is still going to go for some kind of a 2-base attack. And I wonder how that is, yeah, what it looks like, why it's good, especially. Because I think I also saw another Korean Terran do it on this map specifically. So it might be some kind of like tank position that you can get here, or maybe here or something. Just to be clear, whenever I watch tournament games, I kind of have them on the second monitor, so I don't usually catch all the details. But I catch the game, I can see when the games are interesting, and then I know that I can use those to go a little bit more in depth. Learn from them, show them to you guys as well. So he's going to go for a Viking first. He's actually making Marines from this. This sounds really simple, but typically, if you have this setup, you don't make Marines from this barracks. You just make a 3rd CC first, and then, you know, you start making Marines later on, when you can make 5 at a time. So he actually made 3 Marines from 1 barracks with the tech lab. And he's just making non-stop Marines. And I guess it's because he doesn't need money for a 30C, right? Because he's going for a big all-in. Excuse me. So he went up to 4 Hellions, then he put down a react on the starport for the barracks, so he can go for 5 marine production very fast. One thing I would advise you guys is to not put the eBay in the wall. With some builds you can do that, but the problem is that if you put the eBay in the wall, it already looks like a 2-base all-in. If anything, I would advise you guys to put one eBay in the wall when you're like playing standard to fake it. Like you can put one eBay here and one eBay in the wall. Because if you put just one eBay in the wall, it looks like he's playing single eBay. It's probably 2-base. He's gonna push me soon. And yeah, honestly, with everything against Zerg, keeping your build secret is very important. You never want the Zerg to know what's up. With the Zerg larva mechanic, where they can decide to make mass amount of units or mass amount of workers, and I have to make the right decision. If you tell them what you're doing, you're basically making that decision very easy. If you show the overlord that you're making 2 more command centers here, they could literally go up to like 100 drones without doing anything, for example. If you show them that you're 2-base all-inning, they can stop at 55 drones or 52 drones, and just make mass units, and you're gonna get crushed. Like here you can see, Solar doesn't know, so he's already going up to 65. Now, Solar, I have to admit, he's a little bit lucky here, because Solar is going for Roaches, and Roaches typically stop any aggression. 1-base, 2-base. Against Roaches, you're usually not getting through. So, even though he doesn't have the read, he's getting a little bit lucky here. Or maybe he, it could be preparation. It doesn't have to be luck. It could be preparation that he knew. Kurt likes to do this build, judging from ladder games or, historic practice games or something like that. So the push is gonna be 2 tanks, 20 marines. Combat shields and +1 are gonna finish during the push. And it looks like he's gonna push up there, which is very interesting. Solar still doesn't seem to know. He is making a mass amount of roaches because he is doing a 1-1 roach timing. Now the Overseer is gonna confirm that there's no 3rd base and stuff. So now, yeah, he knows 100% for sure what this is. I think he may have had a suspicion already because he didn't see like a 3rd landed. He didn't see... Oh, he needs to be careful with these screens though. Yeah, he didn't see any signs. Now, Kira's actually waiting for 3 tanks here. I feel like maybe he would have had more success if he went a little bit faster. And this is a very nice high ground to park your tanks on, but at the same time, it's not like you can reach this hatchery from here, right? So this still has me wonder why this is good on this map. Because from this, I don't see it. I don't see any position being particularly abusive. Though, to be fair... Like I said, this is Roaches he's playing against. If this was Zerglings, this position would probably be a lot more killer. And I think he's going to get all those Ravagers as well. I mean, there's only 4 Marines. He's going to get at least 1 more Ravager. He's going to get that one. Maybe another one here. There we go. So in the end, the push worked better than expected. I feel like Solar maybe went in a little bit too fast. But I still think Solar has the advantage here. Keep in mind the 3rd CC has just started. Yeah, there's not a particularly big army for Cure or anything. He has, what is this? He probably has a tank at home. Yeah, he's 2 tanks at home, or 1 tank at home and 1 here. But it's not looking fantastic. So, if you play against a lot of Roaches, probably do not try this build. Cure obviously couldn't know it was going to be Roaches. He was doing this off of preparation. A blind build, you could say. And Solar is actually going to go for Banelings. Not sure how I feel about that. I feel like if you're so far ahead... Maybe you could also commit to just making Ravagers to really make sure that you can close the game out. Like, typically if the Zerg is ahead, going 1-1 Roach is a fantastic idea. Now, obviously, he wasn't ahead here before he went 1-1 Roach, but continuing to make Roaches and Ravagers probably would have made the game quite simple for him. Though, it is a little bit easier to throw when you're playing Roaches compared to Ling Bane. Because if you take one really bad fight up a ramp against 5 tanks... 20 of your Roaches could get blasted and then you maybe could be in trouble. So I can see it. He felt like he was in a good spot. He went for the Ling Bane. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, personally I would have still preferred the Roaches probably. But it is what it is. Now, Kira's actually going to make very early Liberators, indicating that he wants to go for another push. I do, the more I wasn't sure about it before. But the more I think about it, the more I actually like that push on the top. Because if you play a style like this... this position, you're going to be able to push there over and over again. Now he has Liberators and more tanks. I feel like he could actually go ahead and push there again if he wants to. Maybe he doesn't quite know yet if Solar stopped making Roaches. I think he saw a lot of Zerglings though, so I feel like he should be aware. Let's go on Curious POV and see what he's going to do from here then. His upgrades are actually pretty good for this build, by the way. 2-2 is on a, you know, very respectable time, honestly. Do notice that because he's up against roaches, he actually made 3 tech labs on his barracks instead of the usual 4 reactors. Now it's just 2. Because he's really pumping out marauders, marauders, marauders. Which would definitely help his push a bit later on as well. Now so far he's pretty much just denying creep. He's taking some trades where he can. Nothing too crazy, of course. And I think if you push at this point, it's always a bit scary to run into like Ravager Bane. If the Zerg has map control, it makes all the difference. If the Zerg sees nothing, you can just walk across. If they have the map control like this, it's a little bit tougher to push. So maybe he's going to wait until a higher tank count. Waiting until T2 seems a little bit off, because if you look at the production tab, you can see T2 is so far away. He's definitely going to be maxed before that point, if he keeps making units. You could obviously also decide to stall his max a little bit by adding a CC. Maybe get a Ghost Academies if he's expecting Lurkers or Ultras or something like that. But else, it looks like a pretty decent time for a push. He's actually going to add more barracks before his 4th base. Okay. This is something I actually didn't realize during the broadcast. So really everything he's done this game is just, you know, more push, push, push. The 3rd CC was even later than I thought. The 4th CC was even later than I thought. And he's even adding more barracks on top of that. How many tanks are we on at this point? 6 tanks, 2 Liberator. Okay, so the Liberators seem to be more of a defending the roach attack kind of thing than a pushing kind of thing. Because if they were for that, he probably would have made more. Though, if he wanted to make more lips, he would have had to add more gases as well on his 3rd base. Because he's only on 4 gas, he actually can't really afford Liberators. As you can see in his gas count, right now he would have to choose between getting more upgrades, 3-3, or getting lips as well. Which usually is a pretty easy choice in the favor of the upgrades. Terran units without upgrades, guys, they don't do that well. Especially Bio. Marines that do 1 less damage per each shot. Not quite it, I can tell you that. So he's gonna add even more. Oh my, he's making so many tech labs, guys. Look at this. 5 tech labs on those barracks. That's actually pretty insane. And now he's adding his 4th base. So after he got maxed, after the 8th barracks even, that's when he started making the 4th command center. There's still no transition in sight here. For Cure, of course. Like no ghost, nothing like that. I think not even a second factory, right? Yeah, not even a second factory. This is pure 1 barracks, 1 starport. Or 8 barracks, 1 starport, 1 factory. Solar, on the other hand, going for Ultralisk, which usually I like it. But since Cure started with 3 tech labs, it doesn't feel quite as good. Ultralisk, they have a bad reputation, but honestly, they are absolutely insane if you make them against a Terran that is not ready to transition. Like right here you can see Cure has 20 Marauders, but if you play against Marine Mine, it's very common that it would be 50 Marines and 6 Marauders, and then 2 Ultras or 3 Ultras will completely destroy the Terran army, with some backup of course. But in this case, he's been spamming Marauders for 5 minutes already. Not quite sure if I like the Ultras here. I think maybe just adding more Vipers, getting more Ling Bane is the right choice here. Because Vipers really deal well with those tank compositions in general. Man, this position by Cure was really good. Solar's army was actually better here. But just the tanks on top actually made this trade good for Cure. Like, don't get me wrong, the supply looks dead even. Solar probably has better tech. But considering how big Solar's army there was, that was an insane fight for Cure. And now I feel like the playing field has evened up a little bit. Because the workers are pretty close. Their, 4th base is landing. It's actually an orbital somehow. But yeah, he has 4 bases now. Solar is also on 4 bases. 5th is just finished. But he doesn't really have the drones for a 5 base economy. Only 67. Normally, if you're on 5 bases as Zerg, you could even go up to 90. In this case, 90 drones would be a little bit too much. Just because a lot of his bases are mined out already. And let's see where Cure is going to take it from here. He's not really making any units at this point. He's actually making 4 gases at once, okay? So finally he wants to transition. That's what that tells me anyway. When he's literally not making a single unit but making 4 gases, I'm like, alright, I guess it's time to add some Liberators maybe. Or some Ghost. One thing that I really love about Cure is that he plays a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of super aggressive stuff like this. But at the same time, he's actually a very capable late game player. Like, Kira's late game is probably, yeah, it's also probably the second best after Maru. I feel like he might be the best mid-game Terran. Like, his mid-game looks so good. He gets a bit more done than Maru. And Maru really shines in just having perfect strategies and, yeah, literally the perfect late game. But Kira's late game is very good. It's probably just the second after him. So if he has to transition here, that doesn't feel like a problem for Kira at all. I want to see what the efficiency is here. Look at the efficiency on that in the top left. Roughly 8,000 resources more lost for Solar. And that's despite the early build kind of failing as well for Cure. So that's pretty incredible. Now he's pushing on 2 places at once. This is typically what you would do against something like Lingbane Muda. But Cure is like, I'm fast enough, I can do it against anything. And that base snipe is actually huge, because that base was most of Solar's economy. And right now we should be seeing Cure get ahead in the eco. Now the Ghost Academy is coming up. And the Lurkers. The Lurkers are a bit faster, which is good for Solar. But Cure does have that 25 more army supply. So I'm sure he's not going to be too sad about it. Another factory going down as well. I'm just really getting this transition in my head. He does the same thing as Maru, where if they do reach the late game, they tend to not make any units they don't need. I feel like I would just be making a lot of bio units and adding some ghosts at the same time. Cure specifically did not make any more bio units in the last minute, so he had supply to make tank and ghosts. If he lost more bio, I feel like he would probably add some more ghosts too. Though this game is a little bit different, because since he just grabbed the economic lead of the game, especially with that 5th finishing, he might just want to survive. And it's not necessarily going to be a late game here. Like, Solar is not super well set up for a late game. He has 6 Lurkers and 3 Vipers, which is great. But he does not have an economy to really like spam Lurkers. So in this case, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually made more bio just to survive. But I guess time will tell. Because at least I imagine he's going to lose more units, right? I don't know. Maybe he's that perfect he doesn't even lose units, but I'm pretty sure he's going to lose some. Is it more ghosts and more tanks? Okay. I mean, it makes sense. He only has 4 ghosts. If we have to follow the lessons of Maru, you want to have roughly 10. If you want to listen to Clem, you want 30. So I guess it's kind of up to who your idol is, right? Or what your own research has provided in terms of answers. Now he's finally starting to get more CCs down as well. I'm once again kind of surprised at how easy he's making this look. Because I feel like, you know, he has been playing very clean. But besides doing like relatively simple pushes on 2 flanks, he hasn't been doing too much. But he found himself in a situation where he has a lot of ghosts. He's going up to roughly 10 command centers. He's just in a fantastic position. He's at the same supplies as a Zerg, but he has more bank, more eco. Like, this is just an insane position. And yeah, I'm always surprised when people don't have to do anything insane to do it. Because when I play myself, it really feels like I have to put like a Herculean effort, you know, to get even into an even position against Zerg. But watching this from his POV, he's playing super clean. But still, it doesn't quite feel like he did something extraordinary here. With his unit control or something like that. But yeah, if you look at the minimap, Solar has... I mean, he's barely mining from a base, honestly. He has like a few workers long distance here. This is 7 workers, 3... Like, Solar is not even really mining from a base. And Cure is on 5 bases, landing is 6th. And his bases are... Actually, this is similarly healthy, but this one is fresh, this one is fresh. And if we look at the income tab, it's going to reflect just that. 3 times the income roughly in terms of minerals. Gas is still the same. But as a Terran, gas is not usually as much of a limiting factor as for the other races. Like the Terran gas curve is always very weird, because you spend so much gas early on, because you need so many upgrades. If you ever look at a Terran production tab early on, it's like stim and 1-1 and combat shield and concussive shells and blah blah blah. And then later on, you suddenly don't need that much gas anymore. So you end up being on 10 gases, and then slowly you're gonna get over gas. The only matchup where that's not really the case is TvT, I think, because your army is very gas heavy. It's usually tanks and ravens and stuff, right? But against Zerg, it's mostly bio. It's it's ghost. I feel like the ghost is the most gas heavy thing here, to be honest. Together with the medevacs, because he has so many. Actually, he also has 9 tanks, so it's a relatively gas heavy army. Well, yeah, not too much. Cure does it. 3 amazing games, 3 really cool builds. And there's a fourth hidden amazing build that I'll be showing you guys on the YouTube soon. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this POV analysis of Cure. Don't forget to sub and like. Love you all, and see you guys next time. Adios.